everyone, this is Ben back with you in the Midwest Model Shop. In today's episode of the Duchess of Kingston, we finally get to do all the stuff I really wanted to do on this ship, and that's put on all the fancy photo etch detail, almost like 90% of it. There's stuff we got to do next. So we'll go ahead and I'll demonstrate how to install all of that, plus drive in some of the brad nails and stuff, and then sort out a couple of problems. I ran into or discovered an issue with the upper whale and where it terminates on the bow. I discovered that, and this is going to sound silly, I should have had the plan sheets out with me kind of along the way. I think I mentioned that in the last episode, to kind of guide me along and be referencing both. The problem is the manual is so good, one falls easily into the trap of thinking that's really all you need to look at. But we pull that out and sort out a couple of things, and then yeah, there aren't really too many gotchas on this one. It just ends up looking awesome. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into the build. Okay, time to pick up from where we left off last time. We did all this fancy decoration up front. Now I want to throw on all this epic and glorious photo etch along the hull here. Start getting some of the stuff knocked out. So what I did to kind of speed things up, this is maybe ill-advised, is I went ahead and cut out all of the photo etch pieces and just set them where they're supposed to go on the drawings. They're one-to-one. It's fantastic. This way I can just grab a piece, you know, this one goes right there, throw it up in the corresponding spot on the model and not have to spend time digging around. I already did that, laid it out. The only drawback to this is if you bump them, they kind of go flying. Maybe put a little piece of tape on it. If you got kids nearby, a fan going, this could be a terrible idea. But for the time being, I'm hoping that this will help me expedite installing our photo etch. So we're going to go ahead and start that process. Okay, so right out of the gate, we're going to start off with one of these skinny, seemingly impossible ones. Just pick an end, and I did dry fit it ahead of time, but pick an end that you know it's going to set in there okay. It is a little snug, and just wrap your way around. This one's tight, but it works out okay in the end. And then we'll just go through here and make sure we've got as much contact as possible. Square that up a little bit. Give the glue a second to grab, and we are on our way. Like that. Looks, I mean, just, it's almost not fair how instantaneously satisfying this is. Okay, like that. Then let's grab this next big one, throw it on underneath. I mean, why stop here? All right, make sure you reference the drawing. This one starts terminated down in this corner on the left here. If I can do it with my hands all the wrong way. That. And as far as glue, I'm using CA glue, and I'm just using my head. You know, anywhere there's a big body, you know, a big area like this or right in here, I'm going ahead and just putting a pretty liberal dollop of CA glue. And then definitely making sure that this end and this end have glue on them, because, you know, this is a curved surface, so if the ends are tied down, the rest of this can float, like even that spot right there, and it's going to be okay. Anything that looks like it's loose and little, try and smudge a little bit on, and you'll be good to go. Again, E6000 is a great alternative if you're nervous about this, and again, it doesn't hurt to do a quick little dry fitting to make sure that that's alright. Okay? And now we just have to move ourselves along right here. So we'll go ahead and I'll knock out these, and then we'll come back in here towards the aft end. Take a look at the progress. Alright, progress has gone along pretty well, fairly smoothly until this point right here. This photo etch, remember I said always dry fit, does not fit. Obviously not an error in the photo etch. It's real close. It's me. You know, some sort of tiny little flex in all of this is preventing this thing from dropping into position the way that we want. I probably could force it, but it's fragile and we want it to end up looking good. So what I'm going to do instead is just take some notes of where we're hitting, you know, right up here, right down there, and make some calls. Where do you want to chop off material? And I think actually the best thing to do is to take cuts from the top, because it is recessed, right? This piece of trim is overhanging it, so one will be less likely when viewing the model, you know, from here to notice that the top of the trim was cut off. If you trim the bottom, you're definitely going to notice that. So I'm going to take some strategic little snips and see if I can't get it to set up and fit the way we want. Alright, this is going to be tight, but here we go. So we'll start all the way aft and down, so here and here. And the rest of this should pinch right in there. I think you can kind of see at the top here where I had to abbreviate some of the details. There, that's seated all the way, and I think that looks quite agreeable. The other two pieces I saved are right here because they're incredibly fragile in their appearance. Alright, here's this piece. It really, as long as you test fit it, it's not bad because it just drops in on the bottom right there. Just center it up. Give it a little squish down and we're good to go. The other one is also dainty that goes in right above here. Alright, let's see if I can do this without screwing it up. Oh, my boat's moving. This is easier to do without a camera in the way and with the boat right in front of you. There we go. But it works out. Alright, there's that piece. Pressing on. Alright, good morning, back at it. I am moving on to the gun port covers, these nice fancy photo etch pieces. They go in place like so. They have a corresponding hole on either side that is meant to receive a nail, a brad. We'll talk about that in a second. And then be super glued into position. So what I'm going to do is grab a healthy dollop, and you don't have to do this way. There's many ways to skin a cap, but I'm gonna go ahead and do it this way. Healthy dollop of CA glue, and go ahead and drop her into position like so. Pretty good right there. Okay, then I like to add the brad nails. So let's talk about that for a second. So here's one of the nails that are provided, and as you can see if I hold it here, it's fairly long. It's too long, in fact, for your whale here. You'll go sailing right on through it if you try and install that on there. So you need to go ahead and trim it up. So what I do, I have these, let's see, use safety glasses. I don't even know what brand these are. They're at my local hobby shop, but they've got, see there, that T shape on either side of the teeth. It allows you to hang on to your brad just like that. But figure 4 mil, 3 mil worth of the brad is encased inside of the teeth right here, or 1/8 of an inch for us on standard. So I just go ahead and I take some heavy nippers. I come in at an angle like this. Do an angle because you still want it to be sharp, and let's get rid of most of that. And then come back here, Go to the hole, give it a little push, and like so, you can see it there, I hope. It is started. Alright, we'll come in here, give it a little push, you're set. Now, this is the tricky part, I think. I have this, just a regular hobby hammer. You need to provide pretty square and concise blows to drive your nails home. Once you do, that's what it looks like. And that is not too shabby. So I'm going to go ahead and put the rest of these on in. Okay, so what we have now are some window frames. There are 4 frames like this on port and starboard, two on each side, port and starboard total, labeled photo etch pieces 67 and 68. They're angled differently. You're supposed to just take this and install them. I have pre-painted this to save time with Insignia white, and then I've gone ahead and used a transparency sheet, you know, like on the old projectors that some of you had in grade school, and I set this on the transparency and cut out, just traced around it, a window. It's not super clear or anything like that. It's good enough. I'm going to have to put a little glue on them, but you know, as you can see right here, you got your glass. Now when they sit in the ship, there's a cutout that allows for plenty of space for just the frame. Even though we're talking about a couple thousandths extra for our quote-unquote glass, you know, it sticks out a little bit. So you need to make sure that this frame is glued securely to the transparency. I love transparencies for a couple reasons. They're good and bad. The good is that they're basically scale thick, right? They also have little imperfections in their clarity that resemble old glass. The drawback to transparencies is their transparencies. They're kind of flimsy. They can be difficult to work with. I use tweezers and gloves. You could get fingerprints on them that'll never come off. Yeah. So you can use a little CA glue. You can use some clear glue, whatever you want. But we're going to go ahead. I'm just going to glue this to here very carefully. Then we'll pick the whole thing up and we'll drop it on the ship. All right. We're going to go ahead and just put some CA glue along here. Hopefully I glued the windows thoroughly enough to the frame, because what's going to happen is my acetate, or my little clear transparency, is actually what is going to be getting glued here for the most part, and the frame sticks to it. It's going to require some touch-up paint as well. The white is difficult to work with, but it's okay. Alright, that should set up nicely. I gotta do a little touching up on there. There's a couple of little spots where the brass was nicked. That's okay. And I chose Insignia white, by the way, because it's kind of like a semi-gloss. Has a little bit of a sheen to it, differentiates it from the white, flat white hull bottom that we've done, and I think is a little bit more in keeping with our kind of glossy look that we've got going here with everything above deck, above the waterline here, right? So that looks good. And then we're going to be putting frame around it, and there's a hole here and here. I should probably drill those out. That goes on next. I'll touch up this white and we'll put that on. While we're at it, I've done some preparatory work back here for these big windows, and what I do want to do now, very simple. I'm just going to cut out a little piece of acetate that fits over this and just glue it in a position directly to this piece. Then there's plenty of room for the photo etch to glue, and then there's a couple of nail holes there too, I think. So I'm going to do that as well. So when we address this piece of photo etch and we come back, you'll see the glass already in place. All right, pressing on. All right, here we are. Sorry about the sideways angle, but I need this to be able to see what I'm doing. So we've got our fancy picture frame here, window frame, I guess, if you will, ready to drop in. It's pretty easy to get right because it follows the arc of the top here of the window frame. Now, we have a hole here and here that we're going to go ahead and run brad nails in just like before. I want to point out on my kit, my holes were a little bit weak. So I took a drill and ran a drill bit through each one of them so that they will work for us. So let me go ahead and get glue on this one. Alright, there we go. And for those of you wondering, I'm just kind of lathering the CA glue up like butter on the backs of this thing. And we can hold it in position. Press it down and we'll be good to go. So next thing is come back here and install the little brad nails. Alright, now technically there's no reason to spend the time to cut these nails shorter, but I don't know if that's going to give me trouble installing them. So we'll give it a try anyway here, just for gee whiz factor. Oh yeah. It does not want to go in very far. And there we go. That one went. We're good there. Might need to drill this one out. You just want to be careful. You don't want to go wiggling all over the place and end up, you know, slipping and punching a hole in your glass or something, right? Alright, and then just drive your little nails in, and we're good to go. Alright, as previously mentioned, I said I was going to throw some the transparency on here for our glass, and there we have it. So, there's a big piece of brass photo etch that goes over here, and I have thoroughly prepared it in advance with a couple of things, so we'll talk about that now. The instructions tell you to paint this. They recommend red to match this red stripe up above here, and then, you know, white window frames. They, in the middle here, they leave the bottom, they come down stop, and then they leave the bottom the brass color. I wanted the frame, because there's another piece of brass photo etch that goes over this. I wanted the window frames to be completely surrounded by red, not with gold bottom. So that's why this is painted this way. And then I've treated it with a layer of varnish that we've been using on the ship to give it this semi-glossy look. Now, when I did this, I went way out of my way to curve and bend all of this wood to follow the shape of the hull, which means it is no longer flat. So you're going to have to, if you do that, you're going to have to bend this photo etch, which I have done here. As you can see, it's got quite an arrangement of bends in it, and you're going to need to do that. I used just some big flat pliers and carefully worked it, and I say that because you can't anneal this. If you anneal it, it'll turn the metal, you know, purple and blue and all kinds of different colors. Then you're going to be forced to go back and paint all of it. I don't want to do that. I want it left natural. So I have it all bent up so that it mostly fits flush up against the wood, so that you're going to get two nails in the corners here, and I want the CA glue to actually touch and kind of help hold this thing into position. So we'll go ahead and get this installed. Alright, so this one's a lot easier to work the CA glue on. You can just glop tons of it on the back right here. There are holes that you do want to line up. We'll get our pin out here. If you take your little nail, sure it's kind of in the shot here, take your nail, put it through, and then get into the right little hole in the back. So help put this thing into the right position. And we're not shoving this nail through all the way, it's just to help, pin just helps align things. And then we could go ahead and squish everything into position. It doesn't line up perfectly with the black wood background now because it's curved, The black wood's curved and this photo etch is curved. But it's really close, and that's all that really matters. And I'm pressing the bottom here to keep everything in place. So that worked out actually really nicely, I think. I'm happy with that. And you can see the window there and the glint, right? Looks nice, huh? Okay, so then go ahead and pull your pins out. And if I could keep them straight, we'll save them. So I need to, oh, I didn't do it yet. I got to cut out. So now a piece of photo etch goes right over the top of this. Let me cut that out. All right, here's our fancy decorative piece. I've got the glue on the back, and it too requires a little bit of pre-bending to follow the contour that you have here. And there's no reason not to use the pins at this point, because we've already got our holes started. And we'll use this to set it into position. And get one more here, like that. And we'll just press this down. And so let's see here. See how on the bottom my red frame goes all the way around versus the instructions are like just go straight down and then the bottom will be gold, like the sill will be gold. I think it looks better with the red going all the way around. Then go ahead and drive your nails home and you're set, right? That's the window and it looks really, really nice. Okay, let's move on to these little badge things. All right, I'm zoomed in really close here because now there's 4 decorative little like oval shields that basically go in right above this whale. And they tell you where to go on the instructions. The paper drawings, line drawings don't have really great vertical references, but looking at the instruction manual, the top of them is flush with this seam and then the bottom right underneath here. So all you gotta do is eyeball the middle of this thing. 1, 2, 3, 4. Put it in the middle. And I have elected to be brave and use CA glue again. They even tell you in the manual that you could go ahead and seal these in with the clear varnish. So we'll put it like that, give it a little push, and it's pretty close to the middle. Something's going on up here anyway, so I'm happy with that. So yeah, you put this in. And there's 4 of those that run along each side. Sorry, I guess my focus changed there. It moves along each side. So we'll put these in position, and then maybe I'll come back with a little bit of varnish, and I'll just touch the edge, because I don't want varnish to, I don't want to be in a situation where the varnish goes on top of the brass. That would take away from its shininess, right? I do want it to bump up against it, though, just to kind of help give it some extra grip. So we'll throw the other ones on, and then I think we'll wrap up this episode. Okay, actually, we're not ready for a big reveal. So we're back here. This is the starboard back corner. Remember, I had kind of screwed this up somehow. We ended up with way less material back here than on the port side. There's a big piece of photo etch, this piece, that lays in here and follows along. Let me just make sure you can see all the way down like this. And there is just enough room for it to fit. And that is because I basically left this trim piece basically the same size, I guess, as the original piece of wood that was right there. So make sure that if you run into the problem like I did, because this is a cool little, I don't know if it's very decorative, but I feel like the bottom's got like a little fish shape to it. Or bird, I don't know. These are all little flourishes, but it looks fantastic. And it wraps up this little corner right here. So go ahead and pinch it at the top. I'm going to tuck it in. This is the most delicate point right there. And then sheet it in and down like this. So we're touching everywhere. This one's just glued in. I thought at first with this big hole right down there that looks kind of like an eye, I thought, oh, is that a nail hole? Do we put a nail in there? And turns out you don't. It's supposed to be left just like this. All right, now that's good enough for now. Now we can wrap this up. All right, I'm going to do a slow poor man's pivot here and bang into the camera and stuff and turn this ship so you guys can see how all the detail is worked out. I went ahead and applied some varnish to everything, tied everything in. I'm going to zoom in on the fantail here in a minute, talk about some of those details that I corrected and worked out. Everyone saw this on the last episode, right? Looks nice, very nice. And then we got more of a photo etch detail here. I mean, this is the stuff, right? I mean, this is why I bought this model ship. I thought this is classy. This is elegant without being gaudy. There's not too much going on. And to me, that's what makes this piece just really awesome. Just super cool. Let's see here. In the back, oh, this is what I want to talk about. So back here, I decided that I would go ahead and paint the edge of this piece of wood black, and I continued that around onto the top as well. And then this face piece is black too. On deck, it's left the natural wood color, and they did that in the instructions when they built the thing. That was the transition that the kit builder folks had provided. Let me see if I could zoom back and get this whole thing to fit in the view here with Titanic in the background. I mean, it's pretty cool, right? We'll turn it again. So the next episode, I thought we were going to move on to the interior of the ship. Inboard, sorry. But they actually, the next stage is to go ahead and work on the old rudder back there. And I want the rudder on this ship to move. There's rigging for it, and I feel like there's just enough accommodations to make that happen. It can't move a lot, just a short throw, but I think it's possible. I think we can make it happen with some, a little cleverness and ingenuity. So, yeah, that's what I'm going to try and do on the next episode. That's it for now. I hope you like and have enjoyed this episode of the Duchess of Kingston. Yeah, it looks good. All right, we'll see you in the next one. Press it on.